I was really inspired by that scene out of The Last of Us Season 2 episode. I really liked the idea of how Abby got stuck in the middle of a bunch of frozen zombies. So I decided to jump online and have a bit of a hunt around to find some inspiration. I came across this really cool artist by the name of Artejaol Studios, and he does some amazing stuff. He does some awesome 3D work with a variety of different styles. As you can see there, he does Spartans, also World War I and World War II figures, so it's a huge range of stuff. Not only does he have a website, he also has a Patreon. On there, you can purchase complete diorama scenes. A huge variety, like I said earlier, like bunkers, Civil War, Grand Prix races, look, vampires as well. And the detail in these figures is quite amazing. They can be upscaled or downscaled in their size. They come as 1/25th, so you can change that as you print it. I was particularly after Zombie Pack, and boy, did he have a great range of zombies. I'll leave the links to the website as well as the Patreon in the description, so go check it out. Once I downloaded the STL files, it was straight into my HOZO proprietary software, where I set up all the supports and then went to slicing the figures. This HOZO RS Turbo printer is absolutely fantastic, and I did do a review of it in the previous video, so you can check that out as well. And here is the final print. The modelling in the figures is really nice. It's got some really crisp detail. In the slicing software, all I did with the supports was hit auto and it automatically did everything for me, so I didn't have to worry about that. The zombie expressions are really cool as well. This zombie looks very creepy and ready to eat brains. Now I did have a minor issue. The original size that I decided to do on, which was 1/25th, turned out to be way too big for the diorama that I had planned. So I had to shrink them down to 1/35th scale, which would make the diorama a bit more manageable. So I ended up printing 2 survivors with a couple of sleds behind them and also a bunch of zombies. Now the whole concept is we have 2 survivors that are very carefully traveling between frozen zombies. The slightest misstep or noise could awaken the living dead. Also in the diorama, I wanted to have a dead tree, and these are a bunch of roots that I dug up probably about 35 years ago, and they've been sitting in this box as I slowly go through all these years. Hopefully with some super glue and a variety of roots, I can create a creepy tree. I recently had a company called HOZO Design contact me, and they have this really cool tool called a Neoblade. I hear you ask, what is it, Geek? Well, viewer, it's an ultrasonic cutting tool, and this cool tool will even make the doctor jealous. Let's check out what comes in the box. Of course, it's the cutting tool, also the charger stand. This will be really handy because your tool will always be charged. It also comes with a spare battery. This is a little blade dispenser. And it's got a little magnet on there, so when you slide it off, it doesn't drop. And it also has a little slot there to get rid of used blades. This ultrasonic cutting tool is currently going through the Kickstarter phase. Not quite available at this present stage, but you can pre-order. You can get it as a standalone cutter or part of the combo, which includes the charger stand. So let's check out how well this tool works. First thing I noticed when I pulled it out of the box was the weight in it. It's actually quite a comfortable weight, but it feels really sturdy. Now the back section there is the battery, and it clicks in and out, and if you want to turn off the power, it's just a matter of turning it to the left, and that switches off the power to the main unit. And there's a little blue LED to tell you if it's on or off. The tool weighs only 183 grams and it's a 40 watter with a 1300 milliamp swappable lithium battery. To operate it, that front button there to push it forward is a pulsing action, and you can see the blade starting to vibrate, and there's a little LED to illuminate the workspace. And if you pull back on the button, it's a continuous cut. The charging station can charge both the tool and the battery at the same time, and that also feels quite sturdy. At the bottom of the box is the charging cable, which is a USB-C, assuming I can actually ever get it out of the box. What surprised me here was there's actually no power adapter to go into a wall socket. I don't know if they'll fix it up before they release it, but yeah, that's probably one thing they'll need to look at. The tool has two little terminals there, and they just slot into the pins of the charger base. And the second battery just goes in one way, so you can't screw that up. And once that's all together, everything seems to be quite sturdy and stable. Very important if you don't want to knock over the tool. And let's check out how well it works. And the first thing I notice is how easy this blade goes through the resin supports. It's like a hot knife through butter. It just melts through. It's really impressive. Normally, to remove the supports, I would dip the figure into some hot water to soften them and then break it off. Then I would end up with these little divots everywhere. With the hot knife, I was cutting through the supports and then shaving off the excess. And this was giving me some really nice clean finishes on the figure. And also reducing the amount of filling and sanding that I'd need to do. One of the first things I noticed in handling the tool was the design of the body to the front section where the button is. It's slightly awkward for my hand size because I've got small hands. I'm a short guy. And yeah, it was a bit awkward, but I soon got used to it and I was able to use it quite well. With the high speed pulsing of the blade does get a bit warm, but it does have an internal fan. It can cut through various types of materials such as foam, cardboard, leather, as well as plywood, and even acrylic and carbon. That's pretty impressive. As I mentioned earlier, this shaving technique gave me some really nice clean finishes. If you do a lot of resin printing, I highly recommend this tool. Now, I got a bit cheeky. I thought I really pushed the blade to its limits, so I started working on my tree. Now, I did cut through a piece of this root, which was about almost 10 mil in diameter, but it did burn it because I kind of pushed it a bit too hard, I think. With the smaller pieces, it cut through quite easily. You do get a variety of different types of blades in the kit as well. To assemble the root pieces, I just used a bit of super glue, and to accelerate, some super glue accelerator or kicker. In the assembly of this tree, I was kind of just grabbing different pieces of roots and kind of putting them together and experimenting just to see what looked cool. And in the end, I was starting to get this really creepy looking tree, which I really liked, and I must admit, I ended up using a lot of super glue to hold it all together. On the plus side of using real roots is the fact that I don't have to paint it. It's already the right color. All I might need to do a little bit later is add a bit of dry brushing just to pull out some more of that detail, but otherwise it's the perfect color. I don't need to do any of that. I don't even need to add a wash. Right here, I've got another piece of root and I'm trying to get a look of the trees kind of snapped in half and a big trunk is just laying on the ground. Back to the tool for just a sec. I was curious to see how quick it is to change a blade. Now, when you slide the replacement blade out, you've got a little magnet there so you can't drop it. Now, there's the little tool to actually undo the collet for that blade, and it's part of the lid, which is really, really handy. And I unscrewed the grub screw, slid in the new blade. Now, this took me a second to make sure it fitted correctly, and then tighten up that grub screw once again, and it was done. That was literally real time, so yeah, couldn't get any faster. The old blade goes into the slot there, and that little tool pops onto the lid via magnets. With all the preparation done, it's time to start painting these figures. Now, I'm doing some zenithal lighting, like I always do with my figures, and that entails giving all the figures a base coat of some flat black primer. I make sure that's a nice solid even coat, and I'll leave it overnight to dry. The following day, to create my highlights and my shadows, I'm using some of this titanium white, which is an acrylic ink, and I give this a spray from one direction. And what this does is just spray the highlights, and then I end up naturally with the dark areas for my shadows. With the highlights, I tend to do a very generic source coming straight from the top. And that's what it looks like when you've got those highlights done. Natural shadows in there. When I paint my figures, I always start off with the blocking in the base colours. So I'll do the pants, the jackets and the backpack and that type of thing. And what this does, it gives me the ability to go back in there, and if I've gone over line and I've kind of bled into another colour, I can go and touch it up because they're just base colours. This zombie gets a yellow hazmat suit and he's got a face mask as well. This poor surfer dude is going to be a bit lost because he'll be in the middle of the snow. This is one of those ones that are walking, and I'm going to have some fun with his arms sticking out a little bit later. And sorry about the image being slightly out of focus, but that's what they look like when they're just blocked out. With the garment colours, I was just making it up as I went along. I'm using some of this medium green from Ammo, which is a dry brushing paint, which is a really thick paint. And the dry brushing technique will just bring out some of the detail in the garments. I do have a variety of different colours from Ammo, and they're really great paint for dry brushing. Really thick and gives you the ability with a good dry brushing brush to pull out some of that detail. By the way, I do have those dry brushing brushes available from scalemoldedgeek.com.au, my shop. And I just use a light brown for the tree trunk. This really brought out some nice detail. Here I'm just using some super glue to assemble the snow sleds. They've got some parcels on there, some backpacks and tarps as well. Now I didn't spend too much time detailing the figures because they're going to be covered in snow and a lot of that's going to disappear. Now to show you the difference, on the right is 1/25th scale, which is what the files originally come in. And I did that quite a while ago for a previous project that I never finished. And you can see the amazing detail in the larger scale. Now these figures you can upscale to 1/16 scale or even down to 1/72. Off camera I measured up the area I need for the diorama. For the base I'm using some of this XPS foam, and I've painted the edges in black and the top in a flat white. To stick down the items on the base I'm using a combination of some hot glue as well as some super glue for the figures. Off camera, I did spend a bit of time organising my figures and my tree, just getting the best layout and best way to tell my story. To add visual interest to the diorama, I decided to have the survivors walk in the opposite direction to the zombies. The zombie horde had been traversing the wilderness when they got caught in a snowstorm and got frozen in place. The survivors had noticed that they had been there for quite a while, so risked the travel through the zombie horde. To simulate the snow, I've got these two different packs, one from Vallejo and another one from Green Stuff World. This particular snow texture looks like snow that had fallen quite a while ago and slightly melted and solidified again. It does not look like freshly fallen snow. Here I'm using a small spatula to distribute the snow across the base there. I'm also adding built-up snow on the top areas of the tree and the tree trunk. I'm also adding snow to areas of the tree where I would think it would build up over a period of time. I then used a damp brush to remove the spatula strokes. This made it look a lot more realistic. And for another touch to the zombies, I added snow on top of their heads and their arms because they'd been laying around for quite a while. For the final touch on the zombies, I'm using this little kit from Let's Resin, and it's a UV bonding resin plus this UV torch, and has a little momentary switch on there, and the torch is rechargeable. And what I'm using this little kit for is I'm going to create some icicles. This is baking paper or a wax coated paper, and I just add some drops of the clear resin to the wax paper and spread it out with a toothpick so it looks like icicles. And then I hit it for about 10 to 20 seconds with this UV torch to harden it, and then with a pair of tweezers just peels off the wax paper. I then add a drop of that UV resin to the edge of it and hit it with that UV torch once again. If you're curious about this little UV resin pack, you can get it from Let's Resin, and I'll leave the links in the description for it. And just like that, my little diorama is all done. Quite happy with the way that turned out. You know what? You people have been sticking around to the end, so I think it's time we go and check out the final turnaround images. Well, that was a lot of fun to create that diorama. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on possibly what areas I could have improved on. This was one of those rare times where what I had in my head actually came out in my build. In the meantime, go and check out some of my older videos, and hopefully I'll see you in my next build.